Can you explain the different types of beneficiaries and what's the difference between per Stirpes and per capita?
Okay, good. So a beneficiary, generally you're talking about, for us anyway, um, something that's listed on your IRA or your Roth IRA.
Or transfer on debt account?
Yeah, TOD accounts, transfer on death accounts. And so there's two different ways that you can put that in there. And we do have a visual for this also. Uh, I think this does a really good job of explaining it. So per Stirpes, so let's say there's Allison there, and she has Ben and Frank as
Or
her
their primary?
primary beneficiaries, right? And something happens to Ben before Allison passes away. Then when Allison does pass away, it's going to go to Ben's beneficiaries, right? And so basically in this case, probably Ben's kids. But whoever Ben has as beneficiaries in his estate will get his half, and Frank still gets his half,
Yep.
right? And so that's one way of doing it. That seems to be a very common way, actually. However, per capita is another way, and you have to designate these on the form as
Yep.
to which one you want. And so in this case, Allison has her money, and Ben passes away before she does. And per capita just means that that entire line of money is now closed off.
Yeah, it
Right.
essentially goes back to the estate and then the remaining.
Right. And so now
Beneficiary.
Frank is going to get it all.
Yep.
Right. So Frank probably likes per capita in this particular case. But, this is up to Allison. This is the decision that Allison's got to make here as to what she wants to have happen. Does she want this to potentially go through to her grandchildren or whoever, or not, and maybe she just wants it to go to her children, and whoever survives, is going to get whatever's in there.
Yeah, and it's usually you'll have a primary, which a lot of times is your spouse, and then you have a contingency. Say
Yeah.
something happens to you and your spouse at the same time,
Right.
you still want to have your beneficiaries receive it. So
Yeah, yeah.
usually for the primary is the first in line, and the contingency is the next in line.
Yeah, and just to, as an aside here, we have a client that passed away, and he insisted upon having his trust as the primary beneficiary, even though he has a spouse. And we tried to talk him out of it, but I think maybe he misheard what the lawyer was saying or something along those lines. But nonetheless, because that made it all taxable, because the trust can't hold it as a tax-deferred asset. Not the end of the world, still work out. We've redone the plan and what have you, but you generally don't want to have a trust as the primary beneficiary.
Yeah, the nice thing about having your spouse as the primary beneficiary is they allow the IRS allows them, because they're an eligible beneficiary, to kind of allow them to just keep the stretch provision.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
life stretch provision is really useful for a retiree.
It really is. Basically, the spouse can take it over as if it's theirs, and so
Usually they combine into one account.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the way to go in most cases. So anyway, so that's the answer to that question. That was a good question.